What's up, everyone? This is Trina Hairston, and I'm here with another amazing episode of Amazing Love here on the Youthful Praise with JJ Hairston show. And I'm excited again about this week's topic, like I always am, because I am so totally into developing healthy habits for your marriage. You know, your marriage will not be great just by osmosis. Becoming one flesh, it really doesn't happen overnight. And I understand that it does take the consummation of the marriage to start that oneness process. But it's also a continuous effort, and it has to be put forth even after sexual intercourse. You have to make some effort to make your marriage great, and that doesn't just happen overnight. So developing healthy marriage habits, sometimes it doesn't come natural, sometimes it does. Sometimes you have already developed these habits even before you've gotten married. But what I found is that we get so comfortable with each other once we've been married for maybe a year or two or something. We start developing this thing where we become so comfortable with each other until we get back into some old habits, or we just think that the marriage is just going to be great on its own. But it does take an effort on both parts to make your marriage great. People have a misconception that if something doesn't feel the right way, then you just need to give up on it, which is not true. Quite contrary, sometimes the things that are the most uncomfortable will develop us to be in the epitome of happiness. And who doesn't want that for their relationship? Take, for instance, eating habits. I've always struggled with unhealthy eating habits just growing up, just not making the right choices. And it wasn't until I went to the doctor one day and she said, well, you have borderline high cholesterol. Immediately, cheeseburgers were not appetizing. Pizza just looked disgusting. And I opted to go for things like fish and vegetables and things that would aid to my survival. And the same thing happens in the survival of your marriage. If you don't make right choices, and if you don't get out of the habit of putting those bad things into your marriage, or maybe just not doing anything to aid to the survival of your marriage, it will fall off. But here are some things that we think that you can add into your marriage that will help your marriage grow. One of them is talk often, and we take for granted. We talk to everyone else about everything, but I don't know if we're talking to our spouses enough. My husband and I have become best friends. We were best friends really before we got married, and I think that's because we talk about everything. We talk about weather, politics, feelings, emotions, desires. There is no stone unturned when it comes to me and him, and I think this builds the intimacy in our marriage. We are each other's secret keepers. And if you think about those friendships that you had way back in grade school or high school, the one thing that kept you all together is that you guys knew each other's secrets. And out of everyone else in the world, you knew that person would hold that secret for you, and it built an intimacy between each other. And that did not happen without talking. So talking is so important. I know when we were younger, we got into a habit of talking so much till we ran out of stuff to talk to, and we just sat on the phone and it was just silence. But even that was a connection, and I still feel like those things are necessary. Another thing is submit to each other. I know people have a problem with the word submission in this age because we live in a day and time where everyone wants to do what they want to do, when they want to do it, and how they want to do it. But when it comes to marriage, there has to be order. If you step into the God institution of marriage, you have to do things God's way. Me submitting to my husband does not speak to my capability as a human and as a woman, but it does testify to my humility as a wife. My husband does not treat me like I'm a lesser than. We are partners in all things, but I do realize that he has a ranking. He's like a boss or a manager. He is the manager over the household, and he gives me the authority to be like a supervisor, to whereas I can make some decisions, but I always run things through him, just like you would do in any function and job that has a managerial and a supervisor position. That's the way you would do things, and your household has to run the same. Everyone needs someone to submit to and to be accountable to. When Satan stops submitting, he began to think more highly of himself, and you see where that left him at. In addition to that, don't think that God uses this politically deceived world to temper the gifts and the operation or even the function of marriage. The best marriages that I know of are made up of two people who are willing to give themselves in the way of submission to each other, and that's never going to change. All right, so now there's a big thing on social media about hashtags. So how many of you have seen hashtag goals? Well, this also plays into marriage as well. Have a mission. Coming home every day, working for different supervisors and different companies and making their dreams happen can leave an emptiness in the fulfillment of your own household dreams. Think of something that you guys can do together. And I mean, it doesn't have to be anything like majorly expensive. You can do something like start a garden. Just have something to look forward to. It can be short-term goals. It can be long-term goals. Start a business, start a nonprofit, something that brings you two together on a different level will help your marriage grow. You need something to take your marriage to the next level, both spiritually, mentally, physically, and even financially. There's nothing wrong with setting goals for your household and sticking to those goals. I hope these things help you. Again, if you have any questions or you want to suggest some topics that we talk about, maybe it's an area that you're struggling in and you want some feedback on that, feel free to email us at amazinglovewithjjandtrina@gmail.com. And we will be more than happy to contribute to the survival of your marriage so that you too can have amazing love. Thank you for joining us, and we'll speak to you again next week. Bye-bye.